Okay, like the title says, equations. So let's just jump right in then. Here we have one, 2x squared equals 98. So the first thing we can look to is that there's a 2 there in front of the x squared. And what we'll do is divide it out. We'll just get rid of it. There we go. That becomes 1. And the 98 gets reduced to a 49. So I'll write the 49 there, equal to x squared. Okay. The next part is going to be kind of easy. Take the square root of the one side and the square root of the other. That'll leave an x here. And what we're going to get now is two solutions. We're going to get positive 7 and negative 7. Because if you take negative 7 times negative 7, you still get positive 49. And of course, 7 times 7 is also 49. So there's that one. Let's take one that looks a little more challenging. It's kind of fun though, because what we have is a power of 5 there. So let's see what we can do with this. Again, let's get rid of that 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And the 64 divided by 2 is going to be 32. Okay, now we want the 5th root of something. Now here you'll see I'll put a little 5 right there. And I'll do the same here. And of course, another way of writing that would be to do it like this. Come up here. X to the 5th. Use a parenthesis and put it up to the power of 1/5. And then it would be equal to 32 with a parenthesis to the power of 1/5. Now, with the laws of the powers, when you see it here, you see there's the 5 there and a 5th there. You multiply them together and you end up with just x to the power of 1, because it's 5 times 1/5. And that, of course, is 1. 5 times 1/5 is 1. So you end up with just a nice little clean x there. And then think of this. We want a number, when multiplied by itself 5 times in a row, gives you 32. And that would be 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So that's a real nice one. However, if you wanted to use it in the calculator, I need to make a little room here. I'll show you how you'd plop that into the calculator. Here we go. You would say, okay, 32, that little kind of arrow button thing, and then a parenthesis, 1, and the button divide, and then 5, and then close the parenthesis and hit enter. And then 2 will pop out. So give it a shot. Let's try the next one. Now we have something that looks scary because there's a negative right there. And that usually induces panic in people. So go ahead, get it out of your system. Panic. Let's hear it. Okay, I hear the screams. Good. All right. Now here we go. It really isn't that bad. It really means this. Remember from the power video I gave you? Ooh, the power video. Potenza. Okay, so the first term here is really how I wrote it just underneath it. And then, of course, it's still equal to 32. So this isn't bad at all. Now, using Math A knowledge, and you're going to hear the word Math A many, many times, what you'll find is that we can do this directly. They basically trade places. I could show you all the steps, but that gets cumbersome. If you want to see it again, if you're unsure why that's possible, then just come to me after a lesson and we'll we'll fix it. So now we have this, and all we need to do is take the fifth root and take the fifth root of that. So I didn't leave myself much room, and I apologize for not being able to write very nicely. I can't draw to save my life, so but here's the one. I'm continuing down up from up there. That's going to be the fifth root of 1 divided by the fifth root of 32. And that'll be equal to this, which cleans up to just x. Now we're almost done. Let's look at how this goes. The fifth root of 1 is just 1, and the fifth root of 32, like our previous example, remember over here, right up there, is 2. And I need to put the pen back on. There. So in this case, x is 1/2. So let's see what happens. Is it really true that x is 1/2? Let's make a little room here and have some fun and see if we can make it work. Okay. The claim is that when x is 1/2, that we will get 32. So let's try it. Okay, I'm going to rewrite this one again because it means 1 divided by x to the fifth should be equal to 32. So let's plop in 2 where x is. That's supposed to be a 5. My mistake. I do that a lot on the board too. Okay, and we make the claim that it's 32. So what happens when we have this to the power of 5? Well, it's going to be 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. I'll go ahead and draw it out. We're going to have 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. Man, is that getting messy. Sorry, guys. And that's on the bottom, and then on the top is just a 1. So let's see. You remember from Math A, your fractions, you're going to go 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And that means that on the bottom, we're going to have 1 divided by 32. And I say that that's equal to 32. Now, if you had your Math A knowledge ready, you would see that this is 32. Go ahead and try it out. You can, if you don't believe it, you can use your calculator and do 1 divided by 32 is equal to a number, and that number will be in the denominator. And then you take 1 divided by that new number and you will get 32. So you can also play with your Math A by using the rules of fractions. So take a look at another one. We have x times x times x, and the other part here, the x squared, here this is the x to the power 3. The x to the minus 2 there, I'm going to be putting down on the bottom because we all know now that that's what x to the minus 2 means. And then we just have the square root of x there. All right, obviously you can see that whatever x is, we can divide it up. So we have 1 and 1. And then we'll save the last step for later. Okay, now it's cleaned up a bit. We're not done. Now, as you can see, I'm only doing the left part first, all this right here. And I'm leaving the 12 for later because I want to clean up the one side first. So I'm going to move this down here. Now, let's take a look at it. If you have the square root of something and multiply it by itself, you end up with what's inside. let me show you. Okay, we know that's equal to 12. But x can be rewritten. This x can be written like this. The square root of x times, well, itself. And then that can be divided by what's still on the bottom there. And that will be equal to 12. But look what happens. That divides out. So now we know that the square root of x is equal to 12. So think of it like this. The square root of a number gives you 12. What number could do that? Well, 144 would work, because if you take the square root of that, you get 12. So x has to equal 144. And if you try that, you could go about it do it the long way and go back to the original equation and plop everything in, and then you'd see what would happen. But you'd have to be careful if you're using a calculator. But it's here. You can see everything just divides away and it becomes nice and clean. All right, we'll try some more next time. Good luck.